What's up, golfers? This is the Pace of Change.
It's about family, it's about fitness, it's about fun, and it's about fast.
It's about changing perceptions about the sport of golf. Golf is a fitness sport.
To offer experiences that consumers want.
This is something I've never ever thought of playing, but I actually really think it would be fun.
I had to wait 25 minutes on that tee box. The fact that I'm not doing anything about this is the reason that it persists.
It is undeniably different.
Welcome back to the Pace of Change Golf Podcast. Hey, if you're new to the POC, if you're just checking us out, I'm Scott Dolly, your co-host, and along with Dude Spellings, we're broadcasting the evolution of golf in the 21st century. How do we do that? Well, we profile and interview the game changers, the pioneers, the entrepreneurs, and the difference makers in the game of golf today. Folks like Rob Hogan, two-time Speed Golf World Champion, Jacob Bowden, co-founder of Sterling Irons, the single-length irons, Jay Caron, CEO of the National Golf Course Owners Association, and guys like Ryan Rustin. He's an internet sensation, an Instagram sensation, a freestyle golfer and trick shot artist over on Instagram at Coach Rusty. Be sure to head over to paceofchange.com for access to all of our previous episodes as well as the show notes. While you're there, you can check out our social feed and check out our podcast sponsors and affiliates. Quick shout out to them, Hozl.com, Hozl.com. A better way to get better by using technology, taking lessons online. It's even cheaper, more cost effective. Encore Golf, the next generation of golf balls. Best golf balls on the market, in my opinion. Got to check that out. Taylor Brands, you can design a brand in minutes because they help you with an artificial intelligence engine. Strikingly.com, you can build beautiful websites in minutes, just like the one over at paceofchange.com. Rival and Revel, makers of the incredible Silo Golf Club carrier. Check it out today and get one. Links Run, an innovative racing group offering golf course running events. And of course, Sterling Irons, single-length irons, taking the market by storm. Lastly, LaserLink Golf. Rob O'Laughlin was on the podcast, founder of Soft Spikes and LaserLink Golf, handheld laser rangefinders. All right, guys, so excited to announce this week we got George Gankas on the POC. Yes! GG Swing Tips on Instagram. He's got almost 45,000 followers. Why? Well, not only is what he's doing really cool and unorthodox, and that's why I was attracted to him, but he's getting results, and that's the most important thing. So we are going to riff back and forth about the golf swing. You're going to love it. George, thanks for coming on the podcast. Let's do it. What initially got me was the way that you work people's lower body.
Okay.
And it's funny because back in 2000, I'm a huge fan. I was a huge fan of Tiger Woods' swing back in 2000.
Yeah,
and I grew up learning from Butch, so for me that was it. And I remember recording the entire U.S. Open at Pebble. And this was back
I got it all recorded too.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I would go back and I would press stop and fast forward one frame at a time, and I would sit in the mirror and I would just literally copy if I could.
That's great. That's how I learned.
Every single move. But what I noticed was he'd get to the top and he had this
little squat.
He had a squat.
Which everybody said was not good.
And everybody said, don't squat, don't squat, don't squat. And so, but forever I learned the squat. So then I had it, and then I heard, don't do that. So then I've been working the last...
I don't know how many people ruined that. It's a funny story about when the squat, I never really had a coach. So the thing was, I was always reading books and all kinds of weird stuff. So are we doing this?
Yeah.
Oh, we are? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we were doing it. Okay. So the thing is when I had a guy, he was like, hey, listen, you can't squat. And I was hitting it. I was killing it as a kid, okay? So I was up there and I was hitting it kind of wild, but I was still smashing. I loved smashing the ball when I was a kid.
Totally.
And so he's like, hey, get your knees not to squat down and go into flexion. And so I did, and I hit it dead straight like three times in a row, but it went like 280.
Yeah.
And I was like, no thanks. So I went back to my old thing. I got wild, and from there it was like I didn't know what I was doing. This is 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But I knew that I hit the ball further that way.
Yeah.
I knew that there was something to it.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of where it went with that. And then how I figured out for myself was watching all the longest hitters in the world that they were all doing that. So I was like, okay, how can I get a little bit of that with some control of, swing direction and angle of attack path, and to match all those things up with face angle and all the rest.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I came out with what I did.
Well, I want to go all the way back to the beginning for you in golf, but you're a player.
Yeah,
You're a player.
Yeah, I'm decent.
Scratch player still?
I'm like a +5.
Yeah, you're like
I shouldn't par. I mean, it sounds stupid. I shouldn't par pretty much
every time.
No, but about 90%.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
But also, I'm playing courses I'm familiar with. So you go out and we go on a tour or something, that's going to be different because I don't know courses. But around here, I'm familiar with them all.
You still want to play? You still have that?
I love playing. I mean, I'd say that if I had a chance and I didn't have the business I did, I'd definitely be playing because I enjoy it a lot. I have fun. So I try. I mean, I'm working basically every day, but on the mat, I'm 5 days a week. 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
So I'm working a lot of hours, but when I'm taking the 2 off, I'm loving to play. I mean, it's fun for me. Everybody goes, "Aren't you burned out?" I'm like, I don't get to play for 5 days straight.
So I can't wait.
But they think that, hey, you're practicing all the rest. I'm like, come watch me. I'm on that mat all day. So it's tough. I do like it. I like, you know what? I've got a couple guys on tour that I'm not going to name their names that I'm teaching, and we're keeping it quiet right now.
Well, I saw one of them.
Which one?
On your GG Swing Tips apparel.
Oh, you did?
I saw.
Okay, so you saw one of them.
That?
Yeah, no, you can say that. But that he just came out for a couple. That was Matt Every. Matt Every came out for a week. He was cool. He's super cool. So what happened was, as far as I've got a couple other guys I'm working with right now, and they're super cool. And I'm like, okay, I've only been working with them like a month and a half.
How do you get hooked up with them?
They just found me off Instagram.
Nice.
And they were watching my YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening with them is they're like, you have like a million different golf swings. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's how I learned. I copied everybody and found out why they worked and how you match them up and what patterns you need with, whether it's the hand path, rotation, all the matchups and path to face angle. So I just figured different ways to do it, but always my bottom of my swing has always been pretty similar. Yeah. I've had a lot of rotation. If you look at all my players, they all have, I'd say, really different backswings, okay, because I don't try and cookie cut everybody the same, which is fine, but, I did, a lot of people like different feels, you know what I mean? Yeah. And they like different looks. I got a kid today that was crossed up, and his swing at the bottom looked awesome, and he was rotating. He's like, I hate the cross up. I'm like, why? And he goes, because it doesn't look right. I'm all, it's not affecting anything. Yeah. I said, it's only giving you speed. Yeah. And he goes, oh, okay, screw it then. I'll keep it that way, okay? So that was his first time. So he just had these, delusions that you should have a certain look. Yeah. But for me, like I said, all my backswings are different. But when you look down in transition, they all shallow it a little differently. Some do it with their hands, some do it with their body, some do it with width. Everybody's doing a little different. But through the bottom, I like to keep it pretty similar. Unless they like big draws or cuts, then I change their patterns at the bottom.
Is underplaying on the way back off limits for you?
No, not at all. I mean, look at Raymond Floyd, and you kind of look at John Rahm. Those guys are two very, very solid guys that take it under a little bit. Yeah, under. I mean, it just depends on how you, and Berger, I love his swing. And people go, you like crossed up, you must not like Berger and Rahm. Those are two of my, and Sergio's really my favorite golf swing. Yeah. People don't know.
Wow.
But I love it. That's why I like how he shallows it. And it's cool because he shallows it differently than a lot of people. He's got a lot of width. And people think he's very narrow, but if you look at his right arm in transition, his arm is like 110. It's really wide. It's not like 45 or 90. So he's got a lot of width. His angle's just because of, the optical illusion of him dropping it, laying it shallow with a lot of form. Looks like it really has a lot of hinge.
Taking your thumb straw and just...
Exactly. But it just looks more than it is. But back to the point of that, those getting under the plane in the back, I don't have a problem if you rotate and match up on the down. But if you were talking about a backswing, like a short backswing, like a wedge and stuff, I would definitely say, thanks, Johnny. I would definitely say that, like Johnny here, he gets his real vertical, and then he gets it back on plane, okay? Yeah. And for wedges. Now, if he kept it more on plane, he might have better distance control. He might have better contact more often. But in general, I would rather see somebody on plane from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, which is halfway back, halfway through. Yeah. But it's not an optimal. I mean, you could do anything as long as you can get it back on.
I just feel, I look at the best players and I see them all, I'm thinking about Rory and Jordan and all those guys. I feel like they stay away from that. They really almost take the club, and at whatever, there's 3 o'clock. Yeah. It's not directly in front of the hands. It's maybe a little bit
outside. Yeah, exactly.
But then they get to the top, and they just have that huge shallowing move.
Yeah, and like everybody, like I said before, shallows it so differently too. Like you got guys who are coming in laid off and more shallow, and then you got guys that are cross the line and shallow. A look that I like, and I don't even do it, but the look I like too is I like a crossed up and then back shallow and just really turn through the ball. It's a cool look. It's almost like Cabrera.
You've exaggerated
I exaggerate. Yeah. But you know what? That's more speed. There's a lot more speed. So I look at guys I call one like the Heisman one. Both arms are straight, okay? Just both arms are straight, no wrist cock, and then you kept pressure point under your arms, and you have a huge turn, and you keep that width as you squat and turn, you get super shallow. It's almost like a Sergio.
Yeah.
And that would be something that would get you dumped under, if anything.
Yeah.
But the fact is that wouldn't create as much speed. It actually looks kind of cool. But if you actually did that same thing up here, and then you got it crossed or whatever, you're going to get a lot more speed if you dropped it back in that same place.
So what about underplaying on the way down?
On the way down, I don't mind if you rotate.
Yeah, as long as you're rotating
If you're rotating it, and also you've got guys who have a lot of right lateral bend, or the right knee's going really internal, which gets the right side to really drop, and then they have problems when they get it under.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you get a guy who's steep, and then they have those two qualities, the right side, then they can almost match it up. But you get a guy who's got good leg work and good body work, and they get it under, then they got to turn. They got to stay pretty level for the shot.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's to me, it's more of matchups and understanding why the ball's doing what it's doing.
Yes, and you don't have one particular swing philosophy,
I have a baseline swing. No, I definitely don't. But I have a baseline swing. Grant Waite, back when he was working with Mac, I don't even know what the date was on it. It's probably between 2000, 2005-ish. But his swing was directly, his shaft rode on ball line, going back. Yep. His hand pass arrived with how much he rotates and how much his arm folds and his forearm rotation and stuff like that, which is confusing unless you're watching me. But then his shaft comes back parallel to his original line, all the way down to the bottom. It gets in between parallel and exits parallel through the middle of his body. And so that's like my baseline for most of my beginners, just to get them an idea of where to be. But then you can move off that baseline, for sure.
And I hear you talk a lot about, external rotation, internal rotation, not only of the knees, but then you also talk about up here too, I think, as well.
Of course,
with the arms as well. So
so you can use all those to your advantage. I mean, for if you have four terms we use flexion, which is basically a knee bend in transition. We have extension, which is basically standing the knees straight.
Yeah.
We have external, which would be like if you're bow-legged, and internal, moving both in so you're knee knocked, okay? So you could use all those to your advantage. And the thing is once a leg fires internal, like let's say the right leg rotates in real quick, it's never going to move past impact. It's done firing. So what I try and do is get a person to stay really external in both those. So the left's going around and the right's going external. And does
that mean it's moving forward? The right knee's moving
for you to see, it's almost like I have a basket and I drop the basket out as I'm still turning my hips, okay? And then all of a sudden, what I'm going to do is this now goes internal, and they both go internal as I push off the right. Now, I can go into extension as I do that from P6, which is shaft parallel ground, or I can stay in flexion almost like Sergio, and now my hand pass can be lower. I'm going to have a lower dynamic loft.
And he does that at impact. His left knee is not...
No, it's not straightened, because if he did, think about what would happen to his swing direction. He's already really shallow, and then he goes into extension of everything. He'd be way dumped under. So his matchup from being so under is just stay in flexion of the knees and the spine and just rotate and keep the right arm bent. And what happens is his path gets matched up, pretty much zeroed out. He has a lot of angle of attack because of that, because he's staying in flexion and he's not coming out of his spine angle at all, which equals, path push more right, which means that he's got to get his swing direction more left to offset that, which is probably confusing for a lot of people. But
now I heard you mention P6, so obviously how many Ps are there?
There's you got P, well, I think there's only P9, okay? So first address is P1.
Yeah.
P2 would be like first parallel. P3 is left arm parallel. P4 would be parallel if you got to the top of your swing.
Yeah, where are you learning all this, or what does this come from?
That's derived originally from Mac, okay? Mac O'Grady. Okay. So P5 would be left arm parallel.
Yep.
And P6 would be shaft parallel to ground. P7's impact. P8's parallel pass. P9 would be right arm parallel.
Nice.
And then P10 would be finish. Okay, so there's P10. So the point is why we use those instead of like, hey, first parallel or second parallel. Because when I'm on the phone and I go, when you get in your downswing and your shaft is parallel to the ground, rather I say P6 and it's done.
Nice.
Okay. So it's nice. And so on my membership site, I have that so people can relate to what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Take me all the way back to the beginning. Tell me about your first experience with golf.
As far as playing wise?
Just your first memory of the game.
My first memory, I did tell somebody this before, is that my dad said I was terrible and I'd never be good at golf. Okay. So that was like my driving force. That was the first thing that he wasn't great, but he was like a 4 handicap.
Yeah.
So
where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Santa Barbara originally,
Nice.
But my dad lived in Ventura, Oxnard area. Okay. So, which is close to here in Westlake. So what happened was, we were at a place where it's Kings River in Fresno, just outside of Fresno. And we were playing some random course like Selma, and it's an easy course. And he's like, if you ever beat me in golf, I will quit golf and I'll dump my clubs in the water. And I'm like, it's on.
Wait.
So that was my motivator. So like within a year, I was smashing him.
Yeah.
And it was that's what really motivated me. Of course, he didn't throw his clubs away,
No.
but I'm glad he didn't, because it's fun to play with.
Mine with my dad was if I beat him, I got a car for my 16th birthday.
That'll motivate you.
Absolutely.
And you did.
I did.
Did you get it?
I got a Toyota Supra. Do you remember those cool looking Supras, man?
I do. Which one? The one that was fast?
The one that has the fin on the back.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
remember
I
that?
do.
It's
Those things
real
were
round.
super,
You get in,
super
it's like a
fast.
cockpit.
I do remember. I actually been in one of my
I had that
buddies'
when I was
super fast.
16. It was so wrong. I shouldn't have had that.
Mhm.
But
That's cool.
But we went to race driving school, so he set me up well. All right, so yeah, it was your dad, man. He was a driving force. That's a real common, obviously a common story.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's what I try and do with my players too. I try and motivate them in any way you can, whether it's talking trash or pumping them up. You got to do one of the two, because not every player is going to react the same. You know, every player is different. And you got to fill them out before you start talking trash to them.
So you're beating your dad. You're beating up on your dad now. You're in your teens. Did you play on the high school golf team?
What happened was I played high school. No, I didn't actually make the high school team. I wasn't good enough. I was a wrestler. So and so when I went to wrestling, I was going to wrestle in college. And so what ended up happening is that summer that I started when I was 18, I said, you know what? I'm just going to start. I'm gonna stick with golf. And so I tried out for the Ventura College team. And I didn't make the team as my freshman. And then my sophomore year, I made it. And then I stayed there for another half semester to play golf. And I was number one on the team. And so then I walked on it at a place called Northridge. And then I ended up getting a partial scholarship from Northridge, and I became number one man on that team too. Which was a good team.
What happened between I can't make a high school team, I can't make a college team?
I just had no experience. I mean, I was playing college ball after a year of playing. I started when I was 18, and I tried to make the college team when I was 18. And I was 1 year of playing, and I was a joke. You know what I mean?
You started playing golf when you were 18?
18, yeah. So I started late.
See, in my mind, I have you as a little kid, and your dad going,
I
"You
wish.
ever beat me?"
No, that would have been cool. No, I was 18, and I was already set to go play. I mean, I was set to go wrestle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I said, you know what?
But your dad was a golfer growing up.
Yeah, he was a
never
golfer.
took you out?
No, he did. I just hated golf.
You just didn't want.
I didn't like it.
Okay.
I played other sports.
Yeah,
I thought
you were
it
a
was
wrestler.
I wrestled. I played volleyball. I played football. I played baseball. Everything. And I was just like, golf is just not cool.
Yeah.
And in my time, and when I was 18, I'm 45. So when it's 89, it wasn't the cool. Tiger wasn't around.
Tiger wasn't even there yet.
Nah, and it was just everybody's trusting.
It was like Curtis Strange and Greg Norman.
Yeah, I actually dig all those guys now.
Yeah,
but at the time, I was like, this is not a cool game. And then I started watching. I was like, I love golf.
What do you think about Curtis Strange's swing?
I loved it. I mean, I haven't seen it in so long, but all I remember is him just moving off the ball about a whole head length and getting back to center and winning like 3 U.S. Opens or 2, whatever it was. 2 in a row. 2 in a row. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And he was simple. I mean,
Norman,
I copied all those guys. I love Norman. I used to copy him all.
Super wide. That was Butch's thing. He would always, I could be shanking it, and he would spend 10 minutes with me on the range. I'd be hitting it better than I've ever hit it.
Just by getting wide.
And we'd spend the next 40 minutes. He'd be like, just hit this shot. Hit that shot. Let's go out on the course. Hit it 300 yards.
That's cool. I love that. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. So, okay, so you go to college. You have a psychology.
I got my bachelor's in psychology.
What was interesting about that as opposed to engineering or business administration or marketing?
That's good. I just wasn't very smart. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So the mind interests you.
My mind definitely interests me. I was like, okay, how can I get my mind stronger to play golf? That's what I was thinking.
Whoa.
Okay. So I was like, how can I actually learn to calm my brain and get relaxed?
Yeah.
Because when I wrestled, everything was adrenaline. Everything was fast-paced in the moment. I didn't even know when I took somebody down, it happened so fast. It was just, whoa, I'm on top of this guy.
You're not even thinking. Yeah.
But in golf, I remember I used to shake in my first tournaments because I didn't, I was nervous. So my eyes would be watering, and I was like, okay, I got to figure a way to calm myself down. So when my players now come around, they have the same kind of fears. I can relate to what they were like. And
you can help them.
And I can help them. Yeah, that's kind of the way it's been for me is I relate to a lot of these juniors. And they understand, how to fix things rather than guessing. Or actually, a lot of them act like they have no fear. Most of them do. And then I get in their brain, and all they have is fear.
Yeah.
They're putting on this front. And that's kind of the way I was, too. I was too cool for school. And then I realized that, I'm not. And I got to learn.
Well, I think that's cool that you're willing to dig beneath the surface for their sake. As opposed
For sure.
to
Just doing golf swing.
take on the facade. Yeah.
I think more than anything, a lot of my juniors have become the golfer they are because of the mental aspect of it, is because they understand how to win and they understand what's important. They understand, how to control their fear.
Yeah.
And what are they afraid of?
Yeah.
It's always their ego. It's always them looking stupid. It's always them being embarrassed, and that's why they're afraid. And as soon as they learn to focus on the process and what's really important,
Get over that.
they start learning to change their
Yeah.
focuses. I've got like 3 different focuses I work with them, whether it's internal, external, getting in a state of zero focus. These guys learn to focus a whole different way, how to breathe. They're
Yeah.
doing stuff. And a lot of it I wasn't taught how to do. I just learned how to do it. You know what I mean? A lot of weird stuff.
Wow.
But I did learn that from psychology, internal, external focus right off the bat.
Yeah.
But a lot of kids have never been out of their head. I'll tell them, hey, open your eyes wide and look out. Open up and see your eyes and look around and trace the mountains.
Yeah.
And like, give me you're out of your head. And I said,
Dude.
do that not just for golf, do it in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as soon as they learn to do that, and then I said, okay, now, if you want to get into a zone, now breathe and then get your eyes really hazy. Like you'll see Jason Day do it.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
you don't go from internal to that state. So internal for me, I always say, hey, when I'm talking and you're thinking about something else, that's internal. Okay. When you're looking out and you can't see anything, you're internal. You're thinking about stuff. So as soon as they learn to go external, look around,
Yeah.
and then go into that state, they get really relaxed.
Wow.
Or even they don't know how to associate their thoughts from golf swing to what do you call it? So I tell them to take one golf swing with thought and then make it a feel, and then with the yardage and the flight they want and the scenarios at hand, and then they take one wash-off swing and then they go back behind, they go external, open their eyes wide,
Yeah.
and then they go into their breathing, and then it's all just automatic. So that's something that really helps them calm down. I give them trigger words, all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. And I love that. That's stuff that
That's all from psychology stuff.
yeah, and you're not, and that's something that you're not even doing on social media yet. I mean,
No, I haven't really done
Yeah.
any of it on social media, but I have on the membership, but I haven't done it in depth. We're doing the second half of my membership site. I did the first half, and I gave out so much stuff for the amount of money that it cost. But the difference is from this half on, it's going to be a lot of weird stuff that we're
Yeah.
doing. It's going to be cool
Yeah,
because
yeah.
a lot of people had questions, and so everything's going to be answered, and we're gonna fill the gap.
Yeah. Okay, so you graduate from college and you're thinking, let's go play the mini tours. So you played out here. Did you play the Golden? It's called Golden
I
State.
played Golden State, Pepsi.
Yeah.
And the difference is that I wasn't.
This
I
was
was
in the
shooting-
late '90s now.
This was late '90s to mid '90s, and it was like late '90s is when I started getting what I would say good.
Yeah.
Okay, I was shooting, in college. I was shot under par, but I wasn't consistently under par. I was too nervous. I played a lot of like scared golf, and then I
Yeah.
learned to control myself in like 2001, and I started playing good golf. I started winning mini tour events, and so I was like, okay, I want to try and play professional golf. But the difference is at that time everybody was asking me swing questions because I was working on so many different motions that I was trying to figure out. Like you said, I was in the mirror checking my motion out,
Yeah.
copying players.
Yep.
And so I was helping people because I enjoyed it. I was like, okay, I'm watching this guy get better. And I had buddies that I'd go play with every day because I was a waiter at night. So I played during the day. And so all my buddies, whether they were surfers or whatever they were, I'd make them like a scratch player in like 2 years. We
Yeah.
just play every day. And so I was like, this is pretty easy. So then I had some guys asking me, and then I started getting paid for it. I'm like, next thing
This
you know,
is
I had a
nice.
book, and
Yeah.
I still want to play golf. And I was like, all right, I'll do half and half. And then it became more of the opposite. So that's how I kind of got stuck in what I'm doing.
Yeah. Did you start here at Westlake?
No, I started at I originally caddied at a place called Sherwood Country Club, which is the nice country club.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
where Tiger used to have the Williams World and the Target Challenge,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. And so I worked there as a caddy for like from 96 to like 2001.
Nice.
And then at the time I was doing both. Like 99, I was teaching and playing and caddying, all three. And then I made the whole like transformation over to teaching alone. And that was scary because I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it or not, because it's hard to build a book. I didn't have a PGA, I didn't have the PGA card. I was going to do it. I went and did the what do you call it? The PAT to see.
Yep. I did the PAT.
And
That's as far as I got.
I shot like 6'7", 6'8",
Yeah.
and I won that by like 11.
Yeah, I did too.
And I was like, you did? Nice. Okay. So I was like, and everybody was flipping out and all scared. And I was like, okay, this is cool. This is easy. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want to go on the program. I wanted to go on the program. I wanted the PGA card, but I didn't want to do what it took 6 months without teaching and working for whatever it was, $6 an hour. I wasn't willing to do that when I was already making $80 an hour at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
For just starting. So I said, okay, let's do the math.
In your mid-20s or early 20s? Or
Yeah, I was like so I'm 45, so I was like
Yeah.
late 20s.
Late 20s.
So I was like 27, 28, 29-ish when I was starting to really make the
Still,
transformation.
$80 an hour. It's
Yeah, it was
take it,
great,
you know?
but I wasn't fully booked. So it was
Yeah.
like I was giving 4 lessons, I was making $300. I was like, yeah. It was better than caddying, which was
Yeah.
$200 a day.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of like moved over to it. And then I met a good player, Darren Angel, which was on the nationwide tour for like 3 years, off and on. And he's like, dude, if you can get me to stop hooking it, you're my coach. And I knew he was good. And so as soon as I got him to do that, he made the tour the very next year. So I was like, cool, I got a nationwide tour.
Yeah.
And then I started teaching another guy named Danny Wax, and he made it the same exact year. So I had 2 guys in the nationwide.
And that helps.
And all of a sudden, then I just, my book grew.
Yeah.
And it was fun. And that's all it was.
How much of it has been self-promotion? I mean, you out there just
You know
it?
what?
Or is it all referral business?
I have never promoted up until this last year, which would be, that's probably a lie because Instagram's a promotion, but it wasn't anything that I planned. So Danny Wax is the one who said, hey, you need to get Instagram. I'm I don't want Instagram.
Whatever, yeah.
I honestly did not. And he's like, dude, just do it. And you got a lot of cool stuff. Just do it and people start liking it. So I did, and most people talk trash at first. Next thing you know, some people started liking it and some
Yeah.
didn't.
When they talk trash, what did they say?
Who are you? You don't know shit, okay? Excuse my language. You don't know anything, okay? And so I would just like, when I read comments and I just laugh, I'm like, whatever, okay? I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Well, you don't seem like the kind of guy who has time for reading comments. You
I
post,
try
you move
not
on.
to. No, you know what I do is at the end of the day, what I'll do is I'll go by and give some people knuckles and I'm like, thanks for
you did that for me.
Well, because these guys are putting in time to actually support me and actually do that. I'm going to give them a little time. You know what I mean? And it goes a long way. You know what I mean? If you're cool to people, they're going to be cool back. But if you're just like, okay, I'm cool and I don't need to get back to people, and it's probably not going to work out for you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the route. So the social media part, how did I start promoting? Usually it was all, you got kids. Like I've got all these juniors, and when they start playing good, all they do is talk. They're gonna promote you. So I didn't need to promote. All I have is good players. This year and the year before, I had two kids in the top 10 and probably 15 in the top 100 of junior national rankings. So it's like they're going to talk. You know what I mean? They're going to do all the talking for you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way it went. And then when I got Instagram, that kind of went. And then I got a guy named Andrew Fisher, which is Fish Fit Golf.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy. He's like, and Gabe Ryder, they're like, hey, you want to do a video stuff? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And I said, no chance. And they're like, come on, we'll
This
do
is the
this
membership website?
It's the membership.
Yeah.
And so in January, they talked me into it, and I honestly didn't think it was going to work. I just didn't think that people would really want to do it.
And so what was the setup? How did you design the course?
So what we did was they're like, hey, we're going to ask you questions. Don't even worry. Just do this and this and this and this.
We'll do that.
And we'll do the rest. And so then I started adding on to it. Maybe people will like this or maybe people like this. And so we just got a program of what I think works for golf. You know what I mean? And so some people liked it, I believe. I mean, I'm sure there's people that didn't, but a lot of people liked it, and it's doing pretty well.
Is lesson 1 like grip?
Yeah, I mean,
Fundamentals.
basically, if you look at me teach, it's not regurgitated.
Yeah.
And meaning not because I'm better. It means just because I didn't have a coach. So if I had a coach, I probably would have regurgitated the same drills, same exact things, and just copy. Yeah. So for me, I knew what positions I wanted people in. And so if I knew that I could get someone to these positions faster, I'm going to make stuff up. And so that's how I got all my stuff is how do I get somebody here faster than anybody? Yeah. And so I've got lots of ways to get you shallow. I got lots of ways to rotate. And so everybody knows that they need to rotate, and everybody knows what a good golf swing looks like, but how do you get someone there the fastest? Some people are, I'm sure, smarter than me. I mean, but can they move a golf swing faster?
Yeah.
That's debatable. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing that I like to know is there's guys that are smarter than me for sure. Chris Como is one of my really good friends, and I think he's the smartest guy on the planet. I really do. Whether he fixes Tiger or not, he's definitely the smartest guy. he might not be the most respected. I respect him the most, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, as far as public life, because they just don't know him. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. He's as smart as they come.
And so you're saying like he's like IQ brilliant?
IQ brilliant. He knows the golf swing as well as anybody in the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know really any of the stuff he does, but if there was ever a
Is he a
question,
Trackman guy?
yeah, he's the one who first, it's like, read the physics of golf, okay?
Yeah.
Because they had D-plane on there, and that was by Dr. Jurgensen, and that was
Yeah, I remember
a
the
long
D-plane.
time ago. So I knew ball flight laws before Trackman came out, okay? And so that was a big advantage, and I think, in his part and mine, just
Yeah.
because he's like, dude, you got to read this, you got to read this. And so those are the things, and anything we debated on was always like, nah, you're wrong. And after a while, it's been a cool ride, because if I ever do have a question, he'd be the guy that I'd ask.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, to be honest, he's the only guy that I ask. Not that there's not other qualified people out there, because there certainly is. It's just that he's been a friend of mine for a long time, and I just think that he's very, very smart.
So what from here?
Good question.
Yeah.
Everything's good business-wise. I couldn't ask for better. I'm tired all the time. I'm doing way too many hours.
Yeah.
I've got a guy named Jack Kim that works under me.
I saw his post this week.
Yeah, I posted for him today.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. He got like 600 followers in like an hour. It was pretty cool. So that helped him. But he's really a bright guy. He's been around with me for 5 years. I taught him for 4 years. He's been teaching.
Did he go through the program?
Of what I do? Yeah.
No, did he go through
No,
the
he did not.
PGA?
No, he didn't. He's been to every coach in the
I
country.
think that's cool, by the way, because I also did not go through the program,
And did you teach?
and I did teach.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, how
I mean,
cool.
I'm a huge fan of the golf swing as well, and of course, learning from Butch and watching Tiger. I
Can't
love
work
the
better.
golf swing.
Oh, heck yeah.
And so
Butch is the man.
yeah, Butch is the man. So, but yeah, no, I never I did teach. I taught 700 or 750 lessons in a short amount of time, and then I tried to go to Q school.
Good for
Didn't
you.
work out, and got a job for 4 years.
Did
and
you play
then
college ball?
Played college. Played at South Carolina with Kyle Thompson.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if you know
this.
Kyle.
Yeah, I've heard his name.
Andy Sanders and I.
South Carolina's been pretty good.
Yeah, they've always been pretty good. Yeah. Wade Ormsby's playing in Europe, and so he's still out there doing it.
I saw you hitting it. You're hitting it solid. I was like, he's got some speed.
Okay, yeah. And then Andy Sanders, who's the caddy for Jimmy Walker. He and I were
Oh, wow.
roommates at U of H. So
That's
I transferred
exciting.
back to U of H at University of Houston, and so we're good buddies. But yeah, I went out and I played the mini tours in 05. Didn't happen. Caddied, worked at a golf course, taught lessons just to stay around the game. Still
Kinda
trying to
same
play. I
stuff
always
I
wanted
did.
to play. Yeah, always wanted to be a
You
PGA
still
Tour
love it?
player. Still love it. I'm not now. I'm a speed golfer.
Oh, that's so cool.
So the reason why I
I'm
did
going to try it, except for I'm going to shave.
well, it's I would just say I would challenge anybody to go out and just play as fast as you can, because you talk about the mental game.
How do you base that? Is it off scores? Or
Yes,
is it
well,
just
so your
speed
scores,
and score?
so your score is your golf score plus how long it takes you to play, and it's a
Oh.
1-to-1 correlation. So every minute equals a stroke.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, and you can only take.
So are you one of the best in the world?
I finished second last year in the world.
Whoa.
Yeah, at the World
I
Championship.
didn't know they even had that. That's
Yeah,
super cool.
we have. So I shot even par.
I'm going to try that. Well, what's the standard? I mean, obviously everybody's playing the same course, so you can't say, okay, you're playing at 6,000 and you're playing at 7,000.
No, we play like 60. We don't play 7,000 yards. We play like 62, 6,300 yards. So it's a little bit shorter. But you can only play with 7 clubs.
Are you more focused on the shot or more on the speed to get it in the hole faster?
I'm a better golfer than most of the
The
speed
guys
golfers
who
just because I've been playing my whole life
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. So I focus on that, but what I've worked really hard on is getting faster.
Okay.
So I've worked a lot on the speed.
Are you carrying it with that bag?
Carry it with that bag, or we have this thing now called a silo.
So you
And
just can roll
yeah, it's
it
like
forward.
a round thing. It's got some slits in it, and you just stick the clubs in there, and you hold it, and you just run it with clubs. You rip them out
That's
and
super
hit. I'll
cool.
show. I have one. I'll show it to you. But yeah,
Okay.
but that's super lightweight as well. So a lot of people run with that. And I got around last year in the final round. I shot even par with 6 birdies and an eagle
With speed golf?
in speed golf, and I did it
Holy
in
crap.
48 minutes.
Good. And 48 for 9 or 18?
18.
48 minutes running? Holy crap.
And
That's
shooting even
crazy.
par.
That's amazing. Congrats, dude. Even par.
Yeah. So, and that was with a bogey and a double on the last 2 holes. So I was 300 through 16.
Oh, my
And one of my big things is I never made it because of my mental game. I went to Q school. I made it through pre-qual real easy. I was in the final group the last 2 rounds. Got nervous on the final 9, and I'd been teaching and working for 3 years. So for me, I had no experience. So, of course, I fell apart in that final 9. Then I got to first stage, and I was in 7th place with 1 round to go and shot myself out of it on the back 9. So for me, it was always...
Were you a nervous golfer, or were you just actually... when I say nervous golfer, some people are nervous, but they control it. Were you like nervous over shots and thinking negative thoughts nervous?
Yeah.
Or were you just like real anxious?
I would get real anxious.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you have negative thoughts too? Like, I'm going to chunk this thing? Or did you have weird stuff running through your head?
No.
It was more just nerves?
Yeah, it was more just nerves. I wasn't worried about could I hit the ball solid. It was just, anxiousness of wanting it to happen.
Were you worried about outcome over the ball too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, that's the biggest problem that I have with players.
Yeah.
That's another trigger that I come in. Before they walk in and after they breathe, I'm all, do you accept your outcome? And do you accept topping it right now?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Do you accept hitting it left? No. Then you're going to shit your pants.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You need to be okay with any kind of outcome that happens, and all of a sudden you relax.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. It'll be.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, where's your focus back? Right where you want it.
You don't care about it.
You don't care. And then a lot of things is that imagine if someone told you you're going to hit the best shot you've ever hit. Okay.
That's
over
cool.
the ball. How would you finish?
Yeah.
How would you swing it? If you knew it was
so
going,
confidently.
you do exactly. So there's so many mind tricks that I use on these kids, but that's where you got to be. But that's weird that you said that your biggest thing was that it was more nerves and the outcome.
And I'm so thankful for growing up the way I did. I worked with Butch, but I also worked with Bob Rotella.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and
he's a man too.
Yeah, and so in high school
I learned from him. I read all his books.
Yeah,
I read
Golf's Not a Game of Perfect,
segment. Yeah.
Golf's a Game of Confidence. But he had me straight in high school. So I was winning junior events, and that's how I got on the South Carolina golf team. But I got to South Carolina, and the guys on my high school team were like, dude, you're never going to play good D1 golf. Like, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. And I was good enough. I was one of the top players in the nation. But that seed got in my mind. And then also I got to college, and I wanted to party, and I wanted to do all that stuff too. So that was part of it. But
were you trying to prove all the time too?
I think so. I mean,
that's the biggest problem too.
I'm a nobody. I got to prove myself, and so I
put
played
extra
horrible.
pressure on yourself. Yeah, exactly.
I did. I put all that pressure on myself. Then I flunked out of school, and all these negatives started adding up. And I think it was just hard to overcome that, you know.
I thought there was something in it. I was hoping beer.
So yeah, that didn't work out for me. But speed golf was great because I got out there, and now you're rushing as fast as you can.
No
and
nerves.
so what happens? Throw the mind away. You just get out. You got to hit the ball as fast as you can.
Are you taking some of that to the course when you play for a little slower?
Yeah. So now I do that as well. But now I can play 9 holes or 12 holes, and I'm like, I'm out of here, man. This has been 3 hours.
Exactly.
I could have played 3 times in the last 3 hours.
I really don't like playing slow golf myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a pretty fast golfer. I've tried to become slower just so I can actually get myself in the right state of mind and focus. But instinctually, I'm a guy that's running to my ball.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just been me.
And
so that's why I got to slow down.
Yeah.
I mean, I think all athletes are that way, and you got to learn to slow yourself down.
Yeah.
Because every other sport, you got to move.
You should give it a try. Go play 9 holes early. Get here 30 minutes early before your first lesson.
I will. I'll let you know how
just go jog.
And I go for a little feint.
Yeah. So yeah, and you can even when you
This
think
is a
about
great
it in your head,
course
you
to
think,
do it.
I have to run as fast as I can. Don't. Just jog. If you got to walk for part of it or whatever, but just when you get to the ball, get on with it. Take the club out.
How do you do that when people are in front? You can't do it when people are in front of you.
So the way they line it up, they go, instead of by handicap, they go by fastest person goes first.
Oh, really?
So if everybody in front of you is faster and everybody behind you is slower in theory, then you should be fine. Like, there should be no passing. But sometimes there is passing, so then you kind of whistle them down. They have to get over to the side, which is a huge time penalty.
Oh, heck yeah.
While you pass through, and then they can keep playing. That's in singles, and then there's doubles, and there's different kinds of formats. Well, thanks for coming on. I want to. Would you be willing to offer that course to our listeners for a little bit of a discount? If we do like Pace of Change or something.
Of course.
And let's get people, learning from you.
I'll give a promotion code for you, and we can go from there. I'd love to help out. I mean,
and then to the
it's
extent
very
we have
informational. You guys, it'll be a lot of stuff that you haven't heard. I promise.
Yeah.
It's not something that I've regurgitated over and over, and you've heard. It's not. You won't get ripped off.
And that's why you're on the podcast, because we're looking for new and stuff that's working.
I appreciate that.
Super impressed, man. So thanks for your time today. Maybe
Thank you
let's
for
go hit a
having
few
me.
balls. We got 13 minutes.
Okay, let's do
Maybe
it.
you can work on me a little bit and we get some video.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah?
Good man. Thank you.
All right, guys, episode 29 in the books. George Gankas, how awesome was that? GG Swing Tips on Instagram. Be sure to head over there and follow him as well. You're going to love what he has to offer. Thanks for listening today. You can support our efforts as well by following us on Facebook /Pace of Change and Twitter @PaceOfChangePod. And of course, like we always say, visit our website, paceofchange.com, and sign up to be a part of the faster golf movement. That's right, we know you want to play golf faster, so sign up, become a part of our newsletter, and we'll keep you up to speed on the latest POC podcast news announcements and updates. We're on YouTube, we're on iTunes, we're on Player FM. Listen, if you're listening to this through iTunes, we work 6 to 8 hours to produce every one of these podcasts. So we're asking you just to take a few minutes of your time, head over there and subscribe and leave a review. If you're getting some good stuff from our podcast, that'll really help, and it'll give other people a chance to listen to our podcast as well. Every action that you take, it makes a bigger difference than you can imagine. So thank you in advance for listening, and thank you for taking the time to subscribe, like, share, and leave a review. All right, guys, until next week, pick up the pace and play from the heart.